It's time for Montana's only statewide radio talk show. Call 866-627-5483. The fastest hour in radio starts now with Voices of Montana and your host, Aaron Flint.
Hey, so have you ever had this happen to you here in Montana? You know, say you're living in Malta, and you know that somebody's going to be down in Billings, and you're saying, I just got this one piece of equipment that I need picked up. I'm fixing my house. I need one thing picked up at Lowe's in Billings and brought back to Malta. Does that ever happen to you? Or you're like, hey, my sister in Missoula has this stuff. She's got these kids' clothes. She wants to deliver them to me in Billings. Is anybody traveling from Missoula to Billings? I'm sure that happens to you all the time here in Montana, right? So you start texting friends, you post on Facebook, hey, is anybody traveling, from Bozeman to Glasgow today? I kind of want to try this out today. I want to try this because I'm going to be driving from Bozeman to Glasgow today, and so I want to try this out. I was at this Montana High-Tech Business Alliance networking reception here in Bozeman last night, and I heard about this company, DropTrip. And I know you guys have heard about this company, DropTrip, before because we had Christina Henderson from the Montana High-Tech Business Alliance join us right here on Voices of Montana in the past as we were talking about some of the top high-tech startups in Montana to watch in 2015. And so we heard about this company, DropTrip. Well, they literally just went live a day and a half ago, and us folks here in Montana have got first access to use this app. Literally, this is how it works. If you've got something that you need in Bozeman and you need it delivered to you in Glasgow, you create a username and a password at their website, and you will find and you will post information, say, hey, I need this delivered from here to here, and I'll give you $20 if you bring it. Whatever, you can set the price, and then somebody who is traveling that day can say, hey, I'm driving to Glasgow. Let me go into DropTrip here and see if anybody needs something delivered to Glasgow. Anyway, so very cool new capability that we've got. We're going to talk about that and much more. Plus, there's this guy who's like a Miles City, Montana native, and he's kind of like Tony Stark. He started Beartooth Radio. We got to hear from him last night at this High-Tech Business Alliance networking reception as well. That and much more we're going to talk about today right here on Voices of Montana as we broadcast live from the Grand Tree Inn in Bozeman. We're going to feature some of the top high-tech startups to watch in Montana in 2015 right here, right after this quick break. All right, so here's the website. Look, if you're in Lewistown or Hilger or Roy or Glasgow today, and you need something delivered from Bozeman, you better go to this website real fast because I'm going to be taking off shortly after Voices of Montana and our live broadcast from the Grand Tree Inn this morning. Here's the website, though. You go, it's go.droptrip.com. Go.droptrip.com. Go in there, create a username and a password, and if you got stuff that you need picked up in Bozeman, you need delivered, say, to Glasgow, well, go in there, create an account today. They just launched this thing like 2 days ago, and then I can log in, see if there's anybody who needs something delivered, and go pick it up and bring it to you later today. DropTrip, one of the top high-tech startups to watch in Montana in 2015. That's according to the Montana High-Tech Business Alliance blog that Christina Henderson had posted. We had a great networking reception here in Bozeman last night, so we've got a few guests that are going to join us right here on Voices of Montana this morning. Doug Warner is actually the founder of DropTrip. Doug Warner is here, and also Hawa Youssef, who's the vice president for products. Bozeman, Montana-based product, but Doug, you're actually a Sheridan, Wyoming native, so pretty much kind of a local guy. You're the Rocky Mountain West kind of guy. So
that's right.
Tell us how you came up with this idea, and more importantly, how did you actually make it come to reality? I guess that's the harder part. Anybody can have an idea, right?
Right. I'll give you the shorter story. So in 2008, when I was working at Right Now Technologies, I was based in Australia, and I started to recognize there were things I wanted from around Australia or even more importantly back from the U.S. And it's really difficult getting things moved there. If I wanted, in particular, if I wanted climbing gear or anything else, the stuff's twice as expensive in Australia. So we had people traveling from Bozeman to Australia all the time with Right Now, and I figured that'd be great. We could just stop down at Northern Lights, pick up something on sale, go to Australia, and sell it for twice retail, and everybody will be happy. I couldn't really justify that at the time, but I couldn't get rid of the idea either, and it kind of grew into what DropTrip is. And so we started DropTrip basically in 2013 at the Startup Weekend Bozeman, when a number of people from around the state came in and started centering around the idea of DropTrip, and so we had several people from Kalispell and several people from Bozeman working on this for the last year plus to get it to the point where we could launch.
Yeah, and in fact, speaking of launch, we've got the incoming director of the Montana State University Launchpad. We're going to talk with Les Craig here a little bit later in the show as well, and some of the things that are going on at Montana State University, and also, by the way, I should add, also going on at the University of Montana as well. They've got a Launchpad in Missoula too. So here you are. You're from Sheridan, Wyoming, and you talked about your person, but you know, everybody knows that you take Billings, Montana, for example,
right.
Regional Trade Service Center.
Exactly.
You got to market 170 miles in every single direction. Well, you were talking about how your folks in Sheridan, Wyoming, were building their house, and literally they would go to Billings and pack a trailer full of stuff that they would buy to go back and help build their house.
Yeah, they weren't in a particular rush, so they'd wait for all the good sales to happen in Billings and go up and buy everything on sale and come back and put it on their property, and eventually they had enough material to build a house.
And you got no sales tax, so you can add that combination in there.
Exactly. So Billings, when I was growing up in Sheridan, Billings was a common place you'd go to when you needed anything of any significant shopping level of stuff. And now Sheridan does have a Home Depot, but they don't have a Lowe's, and there's a number of other things that they're lacking as you start trying to shop for things. So still even very common today for people in Sheridan to drive up to Billings and do something. And not only that, it's when my father travels around the country for his business, he always flies out of Billings because it's the most convenient airport for him. So there's all kinds of trips from Sheridan up to Billings.
Yeah, and so here you are. Say your folks are in Sheridan, Wyoming, and they're building their house, and they're thinking, oh, shoot, we need just one more pipe, or we just need one more fitting, and we can't find it here locally, but they got one at Lowe's, or they got one at Home Depot, or Ace, or whatever, or Marshall's.
Exactly.
And so they can they can go to this go.droptrip.com right now, for example, and say, hey, is anybody driving from Billings to Sheridan?
Exactly.
Here's what I need. And somebody could literally go in there and say, okay, they need this picked up, they'll pay me $20 or whatever. Yep. You pick it up, deliver it, and you get paid. And you're making the trip anyway.
And I think it's even more general than that. Here in Bozeman, we have a lot of construction workers and material sources for the construction happening in Big Sky. And so it is the case that when they get down there with their stuff for the day, there's always something wrong with it. And rather than drive all the way back up to Bozeman, they can just have somebody who's passing through down to Big Sky on the next run down pick it up for them. And I'm sure that happens with Red Lodge, with Miles City, with all these other places where there's something you need from the regional hub, and it just needs to get there so that you don't have to spend the time driving back and forth. Yeah,
and this could be something as simple as like, hey, you're going to Great Falls for your kids' basketball tournament.
Exactly.
For the district tournaments that are taking place this month. You travel into the bigger towns, and it's like, hey, whoever's heading to Great Falls, pick this up for me. And now you've got a web-based application that can support that, manage it, have all the contact. It's basically, a lot of folks in the bigger cities have heard of Uber, which was kind of like this taxi service. So it's similar to that, except for you're shipping product instead of people.
Exactly. And our focus, is quite different from Uber. Uber works only within a city. Our focus is to get stuff between cities. So we're handling and growing in a way that Uber isn't set up to do, because we are recognizing our roots in the rural system to get things between cities. It really is key to how we've thought about the problem. We think that's a major problem that most people haven't conceptualized when they build products like this, because they're all thinking from a big city mentality. They're thinking, I need it there from 20 blocks away, and I need it there, in the next 10 minutes. And that's not the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve the problem, like you said, of, Bozeman to Glasgow, Missoula to Billings. And that's a whole other set of problems, because it's stuff that just can't be moved today. And it would be really nice to just put it on somebody's car, somebody's truck.
And I know this is a company that's based right here in Bozeman, Montana, and it's going to be it's going to end up going global. And, of course, you got Howie Youssef working with it. She speaks like 5 different languages. This gal is incredible. Speaks like 5 different languages. Her mom was a traveling nurse, lived all over Africa, so I can see this thing quickly taking off global. But we get a first shot at this thing here in Montana. And it was cool because you guys already started getting phone calls from people in Montana who were excited about this because they heard about it on our radio show.
That's exactly right.
A couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago.
When we launched on Monday, and we made a couple deliveries already. The person who was very gung-ho about signing up and making deliveries was somebody we'd never talked to, but had contacted us after hearing about it on this show.
There you go. Well, it'll be interesting to see how many hits we get this morning. Again, Doug Warner with DropTrip. Now, it's not an app yet because, again, they want to make this as easy as possible for folks all over the world. We get first shot at it here in Montana. Go.droptrip.com. Much more coming up here on Voices of Montana. We got Michael Monahan, Miles City, Montana native with Beartooth Radio. He's got some incredible technology to talk about. Dr. Joel Henry with Agile Technologies, actually out of Missoula, but he came for that networking reception and much more. Minute to go before we take a quick break. Doug, what do you want to tell folks across Montana? I mean, maybe it's about your company and about employing Montanans and having these jobs here, or just describe, I guess, your company at this stage of the game. Sounds like a pretty new company.
Yeah, we're a pretty new company. Again, we just launched to a closed private beta, which means we want just people in the area to use it, somebody who is going to be able to give us some good feedback so that we're really prepared to grow more nationally and internationally. This will be an international company, but we are focused on making sure it works for ranchers and as well as city people, because we already know, for instance, it's not an app, as you mentioned, because 40% of people who have cell phones in the U.S. don't have a smartphone. So we want to make sure it's open and available to everybody, and that's going to help us understand what the market is so much better.
Yeah, and that's in the U.S., and those numbers are probably even lower here in Montana, given the the rural nature of our state. That's for sure. All right, Doug Warner with DropTrip. The website again, go.droptrip.com. And hey, I'm going to say it again. Go to that website, because if you want something delivered from Bozeman to Glasgow today, I'll make it happen through this DropTrip website. Well, I'm not going to promise. It depends on what you're trying to ship. I don't have that much space. Quick break. Back with more after this.